Welcome to AI Horror Stories. Prepare to be chilled. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell for daily doses of AI-generated fright. The first story is Skin. Skin is a scary legend about a young man named Tom who came to a grisly end. His ghost is known throughout the southern United States as Skin Tom. Have you seen the ghost of Tom? Bloody bones with the skin all gone. Wouldn't it be chilly with no skin on? In rural Tennessee, there lived a young man named Tom. He was handsome, witty, charming, and athletic. What's more, Tom had an eye for the ladies and few could resist his charms. Every girl in town eventually fell for Tom's good looks, but he was never satisfied. As soon as he had romanced one girl, he would break up with her and move on to the next. Before long, Tom had dated almost every single girl in the area. In search of more romance, Tom moved on to new pastures and began driving to the next town over, hoping to meet more girls. Soon, he came across a beautiful young lady named Eleanor. She had long blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a curvaceous figure. Tom was smitten with Eleanor and they began dating. There was just one problem. Eleanor was already married. But Tom didn't let that deter him. In fact, he enjoyed the excitement of sneaking around and having an affair with a married woman. The pair would often meet late at night in the local lover's lane and make out in Tom's car. Tom and Eleanor made little effort to keep their fling a secret, and before too long, the folks in town began to gossip. Eventually, her husband got wind of what was going on and was driven insane with jealousy. He vowed to get revenge on the two of them. He told his wife he was going out of town for the weekend, then hid in the woods behind their house. As he'd guessed, that evening Tom showed up to take the lady out. The husband followed them to the nearby lover's lane. Tom and Eleanor were locked in a passionate embrace when, all of a sudden, they heard the car door open. Standing there was Eleanor's husband. His face was twisted in an evil grin and his hand was clutching a hunting knife. Tom was scared out of his wits and began begging for his life. He swore up and down that he didn't know Eleanor was married. But the husband didn't believe him. The wronged husband grabbed Tom by the ankles and dragged him out of the car, still bearing a sadistic grin upon his angry face. "Please don't kill me," begged Tom. "Oh no," said the husband. "I'm not going to kill you. I have something far worse in mind." With that, the husband dragged Tom off into the darkness. Cowering in the car, Eleanor couldn't see what was happening, but she was forced to listen to Tom's blood-curdling screams as they pierced the dark Tennessee night. Finally, her husband emerged from the darkness, his clothes covered in blood. Without a word, he climbed into the car and drove to the local police station where he turned himself in. The next morning, the police drove up to the crime scene and made a horrifying discovery. Hanging from the branches of a tree was a pile of human skin. They realized that the husband hadn't killed Tom, he had skinned him. In fact, the jealous man had skinned Tom so deftly and carefully that Tom was still alive at the end of the ordeal. The husband had then draped Tom's hide over a branch and left him for dead. The police searched the area, but Tom was nowhere to be seen, and they could find no trace of the hunting knife either. They say that Tom still lurks around the lover's lane, waiting to catch a cheating couple and teach them the same lesson he learned that fateful night. Once a handsome young man, he is now just a bloody skeleton, stalking the little alleys and laneways with a big hunting knife clutched in his bony fingers. All of the teenagers in Tennessee are warned by their parents. Don't go to the lover's lane if you don't want to be Skin Tom's next victim. The second story is the Simileing Man. It was a nice day. Sun was smiling shinily and heating everywhere. Teresa was sitting on the sofa in the garden. She thought what a nice day and stood up. She started to walk towards the garden door to go out from the garden. She thought a bit running would be good, so started to run. While she was running, something slipped her eyes. Something was shining on the road. She rushed to there. There was a necklace that had a big shining stone in the middle that she thought it was so nice, so she took it to wear and tried it on. She continued to run. Following day, when Teresa woke up, she was feeling bad. She thought she had a cold, so decided to stay at home. Her mother was looking bad, too, and so was her father. What was happening? The next day, she was worse. When her mom came to her room, she got surprised. because there was a smell of decayed meat. Room was dark because all curtains were close. Her mother opened the curtains and windows to have the room air. When she opened the curtains, suddenly Teresa screamed and started to cry. Her mother got surprised again. She drew the pictures immediately and called the monk. When the monk came, Teresa's mother told him everything. The monk thought and thought. He wanted to see the girl. He entered the room as make Chris Signy. Teresa screamed. Monk turned towards Teresa's mother and whispered, "A jinn bothered your girl. Is there something different goods that belong to your girl?" Her mother thought and said, "There is a necklace that is strange." Monk asked, "May I see it?" Teresa's mother brought the necklace to the monk. Monk examined it carefully and got confused. He made a Christ sign and the floor shaked. Teresa's mother was afraid. The monk told the woman, "I've a bad news. Your girl isn't alive because of this necklace. Her soul is lost. She is a dead." Teresa's mother get confused and fainted. That moment Teresa got out her bed and moved her head. The monk died. Teresa moved her head again and her mother died, too, and she fainted. Her soul is still lost. Be careful, it can follow you. The third story is the braids. Apparently this one is true. I don't know exactly, but I doubt it. Scare reading. A little girl of 10 years old always used to wear her hair in 2 braids. She never took them out. Her mother had made her wear that same braids for almost 3 months without untying them for sleeping or brushing for even washing. The girl began complaining to her mother after some time that she had a headache. Her mother brushed it off, thinking that she had just bumped her head, and sending her off to bed in her braids. The next morning the girl complained again, but her mother ignored her again. This continued for around 2 weeks until one morning when the little girl was about to leave for school. She told her mother that her head was hurting, but she just sent her to school, believing it to be a cry for attention. That afternoon the girl was almost in tears as she told her teacher she had a terrible headache. Her teacher thought it was because her braids were too tight, and so took each one out and let her hair fall loose. She was shocked to see that a spider was living in the girl's hair and had hatched its eggs. The hatchlings had been eating the girl's scalp. She was rushed immediately to hospital, but died soon after from an infection in her brain.